Okay, well, Brianna, welcome to the podcast. I think we're approaching episode 80 soon. But I'm really excited to have you on here because you are involved in a space that I have a passion for, and I'd love to learn more about myself. But first, how you doing?
I'm doing really well.
Yeah, cool. So give the folks your holistic life coach, right?
Yes.
With roots that blossom. Can you let us know what even that is? What does that mean?
So, I think nowadays life coach, that term life coaches, you kind of see it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically for me, so I went through a life coaching program, which is holistic, meaning mind, body, spirit. So, getting to the root cause of things. So for me specifically, life coaching, I like to work with people who are trying to improve like their overall wellness.
Yeah.
So, making lifestyle changes to be healthier.
And I mean, life coach, like how would I sign up for a life coach? How do you meet people? I mean, just do you have like an office or yeah, there's so much about this space that I know people don't fully understand.
Yeah, well, for me personally,
Yeah.
everything over Zoom right now. Eventually in the future, I'd like to have, my own little office here in San Diego. Um, so I can incorporate my other healing modalities like sound healing and Reiki.
Yeah.
But for now, it's just Zoom. You can find me at Roots That Blossom.
Yeah. And I actually have done a couple sessions with you before, and honestly, like you helped me get out of my funk that I was in. I've been able to be creative again, or jumpstart that at least. You, it was great to be honest, and I just think that more people should go through that. It's not therapy, right?
No, it's not therapy.
Okay, so what's the difference?
Sometimes it feels like a therapy is with a licensed practitioner.
Hmm.
They usually have like a doctorate degree.
Yeah.
But with me, I went through a life coaching program, which is different. But I'm also certified in being trauma informed.
Hmm. What does that mean?
Trauma informed meaning getting to the root cause
Hmm.
of why we do things, like emotional traumas. I know right now you see that word being thrown out a lot, like
Right.
what is trauma?
Right.
But it can be from childhood trauma, things we experience, as adults,
Hmm.
traumas, previous relationships, um, things of that nature.
Yeah. Um, and then talking about the sound healing and Reiki, can you talk about what those are as well?
Yeah, so basically what Reiki is, it's energetic healing.
Okay.
Some practitioners actually lay hands on you, some, kind of extend within your um, energy force. So
It,
energy force meaning if you're 5 foot tall, being within 5 feet of you, your
hmm.
your energy can, transmit to that person. But people also do Reiki, over the internet, like on a Zoom call.
Hmm.
But and then the sound healing, I have this little drum that I use.
Hmm.
You've seen it in the session. We use it together.
Right.
But there's different kinds of things. There's crystal bowls. There's Tibetan bowls. There's metal drums, which is the one that I have. But that also do with sound frequency and how that heals the cells.
Hmm. And what type of people do you recommend utilize these services?
Everybody, I feel like everybody needs
Yeah.
either a therapist or a life coach.
Yeah.
Therapy is more so for people who have a lot of trauma, or are in like domestic violence kind of issues, or going through a really bad divorce, or things that are a lot deeper and more extreme, I guess I would say.
Right.
Life coaching, a lot of my clients have actually been through therapy.
Hmm.
Now they're like transitioning into life coaching.
Hmm. So, like, how do you even discover that you have this passion? that you're following right now, is the first question.
So I would say, I mean, I firmly believe that everybody is born with a purpose
Mm-hmm.
on this earth. And since I was little, I always had a passion for helping people.
Mm-hmm.
Never did I know it was going to lead to life coaching, but
Right.
as a kid, I'm like, I love helping people. That's how I got into nursing. In high school, I decided, okay, nursing, is great. You get to help people,
Mm-hmm.
learning about the body, nursing is going to be the way to go.
Yeah.
So I actually got into holistic nursing back in 2015 when I was in nursing school. My school had a program where we would volunteer and we would go to the hospital and we would do like aromatherapy and sound healing with the patients.
Mm.
And it's ever since then that I started researching, just getting more into like holistic side of nursing.
Yeah.
I remember telling my professor, I'm like, like I love nursing and all that, but I want to be able to spend more time with my patients,
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one with them, get a little bit deeper and just like be there and supportive. And I remember her laughing at me. She's like, oh, well, then you're in the wrong profession,
Right. Right.
That's not how it goes. You don't have time to be sitting there and like talking with your patients and getting to
Yeah.
know them. Like you're there to do your job. And I'm just like, well, damn.
Yeah. It's it's a lot more hands off in the like medical professional world.
Yeah, I mean, like
Okay.
you're caring and you're nurturing and you're there, but it's just not the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of discouraged. I'm like, well, did I choose the wrong career? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, this is
This was it. This was supposed to be it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But fast forward to now, it was back in beginning of 2020. I think it
Mm-hmm.
January 2020. Um, I was on the Holistic Nurses Association website.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's got to be something else. Like before this point, I had already done the Reiki, I had already done the sound healing, I got
Yeah.
certified in those things. I'm like, there has to be a way for me to incorporate, my degree with something holistic. Like, it has to
Right.
be. So I did my own research, came across the American Nurse Association holistic website, and get certified as a holistic nurse, take one of these courses, and under the list of courses that they had was the life coaching. I was like, well, this is interesting. I kind
Mm-hmm.
of read a little bit about it. I'm like, oh, that this sounds cool. Like having no idea what I was getting myself into.
Right.
And it was January, and the course actually started that same month. So
Mm-hmm.
I signed up right away, and then the next week I had my first class. And after the first class, I was like, yeah, this is definitely it. Like
Yeah.
this feels right.
Yeah.
This feels right. Like this is what I've been looking for. And it's the whole class was full of nurses, other nurses doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of how that happened.
Have you had like an affirming moment through your coaching journey that was like I'm meant to do this, or is that not something that you need typically when you're on a path?
Every session with every client that I've ever had, like
Mm,
afterwards, it's just that feeling, that knowing, like, yeah,
mm,
this is what I love to do and this is what I'm meant to do.
hmm. Um, One thing that concerns, or not concern, yeah, concerns me if I'm able to go down, that same road, because this is definitely something that I have a strong interest in. Um, but where do where do you where do you go when you need, to release? Like you take on so much energy, I'm assuming, from people.
So there's like multiple variables to that.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's important to have your own, rituals and self-care practices. So,
Mm-hmm.
before every session, I ground myself. I make sure that I'm whole so that I'm able to go into the session giving all of me. And
Mm-hmm.
after the session, also, releasing that person's energy
Mm-hmm.
and doing your own kind of self-care. But not only that, it's important to have mentors that you look up to and that can support you, having a community of people who support you. And, life coaches also need life coaches.
For sure, right.
You know? So,
Yeah.
um, basically that, like being whole, being grounded, taking care of yourself,
Mm,
and then also, seeking support from others because you can't do it alone.
right. So do you have like a little life coaching like group chat with the other life coaches?
No, I have other friends that are life coaches.
Yeah.
Talk to them and vent to them, and they give me guidance as well because I'm
Yeah.
not perfect.
Yeah.
I make mistakes. Sometimes I get a little out of whack.
Right. And like where did you learn how to do the business side of this? I mean, are you is there a mentor that that you have that's helping you guide this, or are you just kind of going and figuring it out on your own?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it I've learned on my own.
Hmm.
There was one program, the trauma informed certificate that I took. He also,
Hmm.
at the end of that certificate, also included like a business aspect to it. So kind of, how to do things, what you should do.
Yeah.
But a lot of it I kind of just researched on my own. I'm like, all right, like did it, I have other friends that are like entrepreneurs, ask them for advice and
Yeah.
the do's and don'ts. But like being a new entrepreneur, you have to make mistakes on your own. It's
Right.
gonna happen.
Right. And so how do you so when you because like it's you're learning this new profession, and then you're also learning the business of it. Are you also still you're still nursing right now too as well?
Yeah, so I actually cut down. I was so originally beginning of the year it was not this year, last year it was 5 days a week. Then
Hmm.
down to 4 days a week. And now I just told my boss I'm only gonna work 2 days a week.
So when do you sleep?
When do I sleep?
Yeah.
Every day, 8 hours.
I don't know how you squeeze in eight. I get four barely.
That's insane. The body needs sleep, man.
Yeah. So then you said you've always known you wanted to help from an early age. I saw from on your page that you started at 16, that you knew that you wanted to help people. Where do you think that comes from?
Well, 16 that I wanted to be a nurse. That's when I was.
Right. And then 18 you started the volunteering, right, at the hospital.
So going back to your question, you said where does that come from? Like
Yeah.
you wanting to help people?
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like honestly, everyone has their own unique purpose that they're
Hmm.
born with, and that's just has always been mine since I can remember since I was a kid. Like it's
Hmm.
always made me feel good to help other people. Growing up, I was blessed to have my mom and my grandma who were wonderful role models, and they also love helping people. And they used to take us to like Mexico and look at all the
Hmm.
less fortunate, and makes us appreciate our lives. And then you also like get really
Right.
humbled having those experiences. So part of it, I think, is having my mom and my grandma there, leading by example.
Mm. Have you had a moment? Because I learned the most from these types of things, but when something bad has happened in my life, quote unquote bad, it's typically turned into some really great learning lesson for me that has been helpful. Has there been that in your journey here that actually turned out to be a huge positive for you?
My whole life. That's like my life.
Okay. Yeah.
My life. Like there's so many things that I've done. I'm like, like I love the quote that says, things happen for you, not to you.
Mm.
And that literally is and continues to be my life. Sometimes we think like, fuck, like why did that happen to me? It's like, no,
Yeah.
that needed to happen in order for this to happen. Like you wouldn't be who you are today
Yeah.
if it wasn't for that.
Right. My mom always says you should be thankful it happened to you, or like yeah, yeah, you should be thankful. Yeah. Where do you hope to take your career, your career? Like you hope to stop the nursing altogether, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. So I want to work for myself. I've always known from a young age that
Yeah.
I didn't want to work for other people and I wanted
Right.
to my own job. I always wanted that freedom,
Yeah.
and then got into nursing. If you work at a hospital, you do the 312, kind of give that you kind of think it's freedom, but then you get into it, you're like, oh, it's super fucking toxic.
Right. Right.
Such a
It's
toxic working environment. Healthcare is a business at the end of the day. They
yeah.
don't care about their employees.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, this ain't it. But
How are you impacted from the obviously this the pandemic affected everybody, everybody's plans. How are you impacted by this past year?
honestly, 2020 was like one of the best years.
Yo, for real. Me too. But
You feel guilty for saying that, people
yeah,
would trip you like, oh, like that's fucked up. People have died
right.
and that. I understand that. And like, that's sad,
Hmm.
can't imagine what that feels like. Luckily, I'm blessed to have everybody in my family. Nobody's been impacted by it.
Hmm.
But, 2020 was one of the best years. I got into life coaching program and I just got
Hmm.
really, really clear on what I wanted.
Hmm. So what were some of the positives? What are some of the good stuff that happened?
Well, I think it's, for one of the healthiest I've ever been.
Mm,
I was working out more than I was before.
right.
Um, I went vegan. I'm not vegan anymore, but I went vegan
Yeah.
2020. And then just really got clear on what it is that I wanted, with my career.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't want to do nursing anymore. I want to do the life coaching. I want freedom.
Right.
I want to be able to live life on my terms.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I mean, you're on the way. I'm telling you, it's very inspirational for me. To see people like you in your journeys and working towards eventually working for yourself. I would love to do that. I can't, the the idea of dying as the greatest employee for somebody else is like that's one of my biggest fears right now. And so, working towards hopefully one day, being my own boss is absolutely something that I would love to do. But we've had conversations before, but it's like you get comfortable, and that's one thing that I want to avoid at all costs is being too comfortable. That's why I move around so often. I like to put myself in spaces where I might have to put my back against the wall and figure out because that's where my biggest creativity comes from when my back is against the wall.
yeah, complacency. I mean, some people are totally fine with working the 9 to 5,
Yeah.
doing the same shit over and over and over. Hey, like, if that's what you want to do, like,
Right.
if that truly makes you happy,
Right.
by all means. But I know for me, that's not true.
Yeah.
It's like no growth comes from comfort zones.
Yeah.
That's
Where
what I
so where do you learn these lessons? Like, is these don't just come in innately. Obviously you've had to go through
life
some. Okay.
is. I was having a conversation with one of my really good friends yesterday,
Hmm.
and we were talking about that, and we're just like, age is just a number. That doesn't mean
Hmm.
anything. You can be 25 years old and you can be 60 years old. The 25-year-old could have so many different life experiences compared to the 60-year-old. And
Hmm.
wisdom comes from experience.
Right. And with that, so I remember early on in my life, when I first had the idea of wanting to life coach, I thought that I would have to live a life first, be older before I could even get into this world. And I'm understanding that's not the case. But do you have older clients, or I've had older clients, or do you ever deal with like, oh, you're only 20 something years old? Like, what do you mean you're a life coach?
I mean, I've had conversations with people.
Hmm.
No, don't judge a book by its cover is what I
For
say.
sure. Yeah.
I've met a lot of people. They think a certain way about me before even getting to know me. They get to know me, have a conversation, and they're just like, oh, like, I would have never have thought,
Yeah.
somebody like you, has this kind of wisdom.
Right. Do you find any issues with like your race and or gender in this space? Like, do you think that some people will respond better to a male or someone that was their same race as well, or is this transcendent?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that issue. I feel like most people who sign up for my coaching kind of have a good idea of who I am as a person.
Right.
It's not like these random people that just come off the street and,
Right.
so I think the universe does a pretty good job at sending me people who will benefit from my services.
Okay. So tell me, what is the mind state I should be in? Let's say I'm Paul, and I was referred to Brianna's services. Like, what kind of mind state should I be in? What do I need to do to sign up? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so there could be a lot of people that sign up for, my coaching, but it doesn't mean that I'll take you as a client necessarily. Like, you have to go through a discovery call.
Okay.
Discovery call meaning it's like a 30-minute session with me where we get to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah.
Everyone is on a different path. So for me, my ideal client is somebody who has done a little bit of the work, who has, self-awareness, kind of knows what their purpose is in life and has an idea of what they want to do, how to execute that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you turn away a lot of people? Like, what percentage you would say you've turned away?
I haven't turned down a lot of people, but there is like a couple people that I have.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think we're a good fit, And I mean, it's usually kind of awkward to say, but I've had times where it was like one of my ex coworkers, and we're having a discovery call session, but she was going through a lot,
Yeah.
domestic violence,
Oh,
and divorce.
jeez.
I'm like, that's when I refer to like a therapist. I'm like, honestly, I think it's that you see a therapist first because a lot of what you're going through is really, really heavy. And yes, I'm trauma informed,
Yeah.
meaning that I can look at the whole picture and see why things are the way they are. That's basically like being trauma informed. Like,
Right.
okay, kind of know like the root cause of why someone behaves a certain way,
Right.
and you can bring awareness to that. But therapy is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
There's been times where I'm like, hey, let me refer you to my therapist. Uh, it's amazing.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Why is there such a stigma on getting help?
I
I mean,
think
like, I've been blessed enough to have. I mean, I do stand up comedy, so like self deprecation, I don't care. Like, whatever I need to do it, I'll do it. If I need to go to therapy, whatever, I don't care what people think of me. But why is there that stigma there? Or why won't people get the help that
I
could
think
really unlock them?
it's two things. One is ego,
Yeah.
and one is culture. Especially being from like a Hispanic background.
Mm,
Oh, like you're crazy if you go to therapy, or if you're a man, it's like, oh, like you can't solve this on your own. Like that's
yeah.
not much for you to go to therapy. People look at you like you're crazy if you go to therapy. Like
Yeah.
something's wrong with that person.
Right.
And the other is ego, because I've had some friends that don't want to go to therapy because they think like, oh no, like that means I'm weak.
Right. I mean, we're all honestly, like, two things. It's like we're all crazy as shit,
Yeah.
and some of us hide it better than others.
But
Uh,
there's different kinds of crazy though.
yeah, you're right. No, you're right. But
Different-
but everybody's hella crazy though. And if you this is a tangent, and I do this a lot, but that's why I like the idea of paparazzi. I hate, when they, follow people around 24/7 and then wait for them to have one, human moment where they make an error and then it's blasted all over the tabloids. And I want to create a TV show called Paparazzi where we follow around paparazzi all day long, and just shine the light on what kind of life are they living, or when these celebrities make mistakes and they try to tear them down from grace. And some things are definitely way, way worse than others, but it's like, dude, like, these are human beings at the end of the day.
It's like our cancel culture, right?
So bad. Because you don't have the opportunity to learn. That's what I talked about earlier. Like, you can't make a mistake, or you're done.
I just think it's funny how we're so involved in these celebrities' lives, like we really don't know them. Everyone likes to pretend like they know their whole life and they know everything about them.
Right. That people they feel like they're a part of their life. It's crazy.
My whole thing is, if you're so involved in like pop culture like that, you need to get a life.
Oh my gosh. Like, I hate when people send me, did you see about so and so's wedding or divorce? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I wish you
It,
cared about yourself that much.
yeah, it's sad because those people lack purpose in their life. It's what it is. They don't have anything to live for. Like,
So that's actually one of the biggest reasons why I started this podcast. It's like, I'll call it like the anti-Kardashian, if you will. I believe like you said, I believe that every person has a purpose, and I don't think that everybody believes in themselves. But I think everybody can make an impact in whatever they care about in life. And I wanted to help inspire people to um, to believe in themselves, whether that be directly have a guest on here that it's upcoming comic or maybe an up and coming musician, and I want them to feel like they have something to offer. And then I hope that I'm also impacting people that are listening. You know, understanding that you don't have to be a huge celebrity to have something to offer. And I hope to inspire myself also because I love hearing people's journeys. That's really like how um, that's what makes me tick and that's what gets me up out of bed every morning. That's what pushes me to try to be a better version of myself every day is hearing people's journeys. It may not be all glorious or glamorous, but I respect the journey of it more so than the end.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy I'm not famous yet because that cancel culture shit, I would be fucked.
Yeah, I think if you're ever planning on becoming famous, get really, grounded, do the work on yourself to really know who you are. That way, if shit ever anybody ever comes for you, you know who the fuck you are,
Right, exactly.
and they can't rock you like that.
Right. Yeah, no, I think the universe has I mean you pulled it out with the card. It was insane. Can you talk about the cards real quick?
Oh, the oracle cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll do the oracle cards usually at the end of the session. And basically, what it does is just basically reaffirm what you already know, what we talked about in the session.
We had this whole hour long conversation and you pull out this oracle card out of thin air and it summed up our whole conversation in one card, which was, be patient and you're on the right path. I was like, wow, well, we didn't need to have a conversation. You could have just screenshotted that and sent that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the universe works, right?
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, like, I feel like the universe hasn't made me rich yet, or and famous, just because it's like all these lessons I'm adding to my tool box, so that I am prepared for bigger and real challenges once they actually come about.
Yeah, right timing. It's not when you want it. It's when universe says, it's the right time.
Yeah, for sure. So, uh, yeah. I mean, this has been great. I appreciate you sharing all this stuff. How to remind people again? How do they sign up for your services? How do they get to you?
So the direct link is on my Instagram. It's BRIAANAZ. And then you could click the link in the bio and you could schedule a discovery call. And then you can also go to my website from there.
Okay. And I know I just said that we're wrapping up, but I actually have another question. So the previous guest I had, he does mushroom therapy.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that? Say some negative things so that I can get you guys beefing.
Can't
Yeah.
say
No,
negative.
I'm just messing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I will say this. I think, all these alternative medicines are amazing and everybody is a unique individual and different things work for different people. So you just have
Hmm.
to find what works best for you.
Hmm.
You know, there's a lot of new research that supports, mushrooms and psychedelics and whatnot. But what I wanted to add is I know a lot of people also use these things
Hmm.
in a not so good way,
Hmm.
to take them out of reality instead of it being a healing
Hmm.
thing for them.
Hmm.
I'm all for healing, trying different things, but it's when it gets to the point where you're just doing it just to do it, kind of
Hmm.
putting yourself out of your own reality where it can become an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I'll tell him that you said his profession is trash. I'll tell him that right after we.
Ryan,
All right, Brianna. Listen,
around, around.
I appreciate you. I usually like to wrap these up on some cheesy question. What do you hope your legacy is at the end of the day?
don't want people to necessarily remember me as a person, but what I stand for, which is just, spreading love, healing yourself, living authentically, and living your purpose.
Fuck with that. I'll make sure to forget you, but your principles I remember. All right, honestly appreciate your time. This was tight. Enjoy your life.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, cool. Bye.
All right.